those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen. Nerds International proudly presents.
We want to take you on a quest for knowledge. One that will take us from ancient medieval fantasy across the far reaches of space to the distant future. To many savage worlds.
Welcome to episode 68 of the Wild Eye Podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to Pinnacle Entertainment Savage Worlds, aimed at beginners and veterans alike. Harrison, you actually got your webcam up and running. You're looking sweet today, although you're not feeling well.
No, I've caught something over the Christmas period. It's that you guys are always having a go at me for drinking before I do these. No, not immediately before I do these, but the night before we record these. And for once I didn't do it, and now I've got a damn cold. So I'm pretty. That's a sign, man. I'm gonna continue drinking every time we do these.
My Uncle Bully, he never got sick his entire life. Smoked and drank, and then when he gave it up, he was just constantly sick. Sometimes you're the kind of person that's got to keep those viruses pickled.
Exactly.
You got to keep tarred up and pickled.
Thanks, Gary.
That's why Eric never gets sick. He's always looking svelte and always ready to go. Right, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody understands. See, my wife, she's always telling me to give up smoking. That's another thing. I gave up smoking about 2 days ago, right? So, and now I feel awful. I feel terrible. I feel angry for some reason. I don't even know why. I just want to strangle somebody. Somebody explain that to me.
Is the guy up in the flat upstairs still making a bunch of noise, or did maybe you strangled him out? I think.
Yeah, that's not. Nobody can prove that.
The Wild Eye Podcast. Eric, have you seen Grandma Goes to Donkey Punch Town 3?
Now that's a movie. Don't you think it's a shame that Grandma Goes to Donkey Punch Town 4 it didn't live up to the previous one nearly as much?
Exactly.
They didn't have much of a budget.
Yeah. I mean, after Spielberg left the project, it just wasn't the same.
So,
Wow.
Moving on.
Yeah, so on the menu today, we have Between the Covers. We're going to review the first two products from a new publisher, a new ace for Savage Worlds, Atomic Ninja. Talk about their one-shot wonders and archetypes. We're going to do the plug again and continue our series about Adventure Edition by talking about our campaign, Irongate, a couple things there that are new to Adventure Edition, so we're going to cover that. And then Gary's going to talk about perspective in gaming. You have gas or something, Gary? Do you need to take a break?
No, I got a gut ache all of a sudden.
All right, well, please don't come between the covers with us.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, one and all, to Between the Covers, the hottest and most greased up segment on this podcast. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Things are gonna get a bit weird in here.
No, it's nothing sexy.
Sorry, what?
It's kind of where we talk about a Savage Worlds book from cover to cover.
Like some sort of book club.
Well, essentially, yes.
Well, in that case, I'm leaving. Oh, yeah. See you later. So, tell me about these one-shot wonders. Atomic Ninja, new studio. They come right out the gate. Are they swinging? Are they swinging hard? Or are they limp like my... Never mind.
Those are Savage Daddies, the guys over at GM's Hangout stuff, isn't it, Eric?
Well, first disclaimer, David Scott reached out to me and asked me if I would like to review this product, which is the first release from Atomic Ninja. So why not? Let's do that. That'd be a quick little review there. All right. So what is this? It's a collection of independent adventures with pre-gen characters for Savage Worlds. They wrote all of that way before Adventure Edition, so it is still with Deluxe, but with minor changes. It could easily be used for Adventure Edition. I think David mentioned that they were going to release like a small conversion document for this. But yeah, what you get are 5 adventures. You got No More Room in Hell, which is a tribute to George Romero. So you've got this one in the horror genre. Then you got a Supers adventure called A Wolf in Hero's Clothing, a kind of B-movie action type of adventure there with Bubba Tech, Rednecks in Mechs.
So B-movie, obviously by B-movie you mean B-movie, that movie about a bee?
About bees, yeah.
Sweet.
You know, the one Jerry Springer was in it, or Jerry Seinfeld, I mean.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that was a good movie, man.
It was a good movie.
I mean, they've really hit a good niche there, because there are no real RPGs or Savage Worlds adventures that really capture the essence of that great artwork B-movie.
Good. Yeah, and then you got a sci-fi comedy called 30 Parsecs or Less, in which you have to save Papa Pluto's pizza from bankruptcy. That one reminded me a little bit of Futurama and maybe Spaceball a little bit. And finally, you have of course, fantasy called A Game of Trolls. And this one, you play trolls, pacifist trolls that are attacked by murder hobos. And pretty funny. I quite like that one. So, yeah, what I think of it, I think it's pretty complete. With those 5 genres there. Those adventures comes with pre-gens. It also, the whole spread of them uses basically all the rules that you want to feature in a Savage Rules game. So you've got chases, dramatic tasks, interludes, use of extras, and even social conflict. So in each of those, there's more than just combat. In fact, some of them aren't really about combat. It's just fun use of all the rules.
What I really like is the actual elevator pitches for all of these adventures are fantastic as well. I haven't read them, obviously, because, too long. A lot of them are more than a sentence long. But the thing about it is all of these, they're such fantastic ideas that you can pitch, to somebody really quickly. The only one I'm not that keen on is the zombie apocalypse one, but, I just think they're such fantastic ideas. The pacifist troll one, the Papa Pluto's pizza, Mecha Hitler, I'm well down with that. That's well good. And the fact that you play sidekicks in the superhero one, it's fantastic. They're such brilliant ideas. So did they execute them well then, do you think?
Yeah, I think they nailed the tropes in every adventure. Every adventure I read there looks quite fun. Obviously, I'm not going to give any spoilers to them, but they all have twists and, well written and all that. The only thing I would say is that some of them seem rather short, but as is the case with a one-sheet adventure, there's a bit of work that the GM has to do there to, fluff it up a little bit. So, which is fine.
Sometimes though, with those one sheets, if they are short and you can't be bothered to fluff them up a bit, I sometimes play 2 in a night, and you could do that with these, I guess, if you wanted to. Like when you have a double feature at a movie or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard to know how long people play. Some people play for 2 hours, some for 3, some for 4, some play the whole day. So, one shot depends. But I think, between 2 and 4 hours for these, with a full group of players, 4 or 5, even 6 players, I think you have enough for a night. So yeah, that, and then some of the fun things, without giving spoilers, but you've got a character in Rednecks and Mechs called Uncle Booger. So, I I still want to play Uncle Booger just for the name.
Fair enough.
And then, yeah.
So can I ask a question? What are we talking?
My dark fantasy there.
Shut up. Stop talking for a minute. Stop talking. I'm asking a question. So, can I ask a question, please, Eric? What is the presentation like? Is it nice?
It is a beautiful layout, trade dress, and the artwork also. You got a bunch of artwork basically on every page or every other page. It's what, 28 pages or something like that. So yeah, good value. I mean, everybody should have that just in their, at least in their back pocket. And like a player or two doesn't show up one night and you want to play something, you could easily use that to play.
That is, I'm genuinely pleased. That's awesome. I'm pleased that they've managed to put out something so awesome. Because if you listen to their podcast,
and the price point.
Never mind.
Yeah, the price point too for this is, well, it's a pay what you want product. So basically, you could just download it, check it out, and if you like it, throw a couple dollars.
Gary, what the hell is going on? I've just seen Gary's face. He's got, sorry to interrupt, but his face is doing all sorts of stuff. He looks like he's just been stung by a wasp in the world. Yes, let's not say. But Gary, what is going on over there, man?
Yes.
No, I'm up next. I'm just shocked that it's pay what you want and not $50.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all will become clear soon, listeners. Trust me.
No, I mean, to conclude, I mean, there isn't much more I can say about this. Maybe just the cover. That was, I don't know. Well, first it's called Savage Daddy's One-Shot Wonders, and then on the cover it's basically artwork of Jared. So I don't know. No, I mean, I can understand being proud of releasing a product and having your name on it, but then you call it. It's called your name is the title, and then your picture basically is on the cover too. That's. Yeah, well, good on you, Jared. But it's a good product.
I would totally do that.
I also think Savage Daddy's One Shot it really sounds quite pornographic, doesn't it? I mean, Savage Daddy's One Shots, I'm certain I owned a VHS called that at one point.
I'm gonna print off the cover and take it to my naughty places with me.
Yeah, your wife finds it. She's like, "What is this Savage Daddy's One Shots?" And you're like, "It's porn. It's porn. Don't worry about it."
No, it isn't. Honestly, it's a very well put together product. I could see myself running these, and I'm the kind of guy that doesn't really like to run other people's stuff all that much. So, yeah, very fun adventures, and pay what you want. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Go check it out.
So well done, Savage Daddy.
Gary.
All right, Gary, let's hear from you, man, because you've been pulling some serious faces up in this bitch.
I still have some questions about the Savage Daddy's One-Shot Wonders because I didn't purchase that one. I did, however, purchase the other one called Atomic Ninja Presents Adventure Archetypes. But in the One-Shot Wonders, what are they, a couple of pages long? Do they have characters, like pre-gen characters already in them? They're fairly complete. Yeah. Like, your just insert imagination stuff is ready to take to the table. Purchase it, print it, take it to a convention. You got everything you need, from the minis, the paper minis, to the complete characters, to the stories, to the little maps and everything. How does this compare to that?
Well, I'm a bit biased with that, but basically you have the one sheet adventure, so about 2 pages long for the adventure, and then all the pre-gens, you can cut them up like they fit sometimes like 2 on a page. You just cut on the dotted line and you hand them out. Some of them have, well, one of them, the Game of Trolls, has a map, but the other ones don't really have that, any other props besides the pre-gens and the adventure.
Gotcha. So in total, how many pages? And did Carl Kiesler do the layout for this one too?
Yeah. Carl did the layout, so you can expect some that looks great. It's like, what, 28 pages? Let me bring it up again. Pretty sure that's what it is. 29 pages total.
Wow, that's good value for money. I mean, pay what you want, 29 pages. You could get this for $1 if you wanted. You could get it for free, see if you like it, then sling them $1 if you wanted. Amazing value for money. So, Gary, how much did you pay for these? Well, let's call them what they are, character sheets.
They're not. They're not even character sheets. I don't understand. This is why I was making the weird faces. Like, I want to premise this by saying I like everybody at the GM's Hangout. I really do. I like Jared. I like David. I like Chris.
That's Chris Fox.
Dustin. He's been on the Murder Hobo show a few times. Like, they're all great guys. But the one I got is it's junk. It's garbage. It's utter.
What's it called?
It's called Atomic Ninja Presents Adventure Archetypes. Now, Carl Kiesler knocked it out of the park with the trade dress. There's some fantastic art in a couple of pages of this deal here. The layout and whatnot is fantastic, but I paid $10 for it. You can get a freaking 200-page core PDF deluxe. You know what I mean? An entire core system for $10. The PDF for Savage Worlds itself has $10.
I bought entire rule systems for that before, man. Like, and f***ing good ones too. Sorry for my language.
But this is the thing. I was thinking that maybe it was a mistake, and maybe when they put in the price of it, it was 99 cents, and not $9.99 that I paid for it, because I think I paid $9.99 or something like that. I actually have to go. I'll go pull it up and see what it's, because it's already up. Yeah, no, it is $9.99. I don't understand that is the shock to me, the difference in the prices. So you've got 30 pages of pay what you want, and you've got what they say is 8 pages for $10. So I've scrolled through the reviews, and Joshua S's comment is like $9.99 for 8 pages of content. And then Jeffrey F., I'm not sure who Jeffrey F. is. He must be somebody that put it together. But basically, he's like 8 pages of content that features 21 archetypes for you to use. It is compact and easy to navigate and use without having being padded for space to make it seem bigger. So when I started looking at it, page number 1 is the cover page. Page number 2 is the credits. Page number 3 is the table of contents. Page number 4 is how to use the book. And then on page number 3. So 4, 5, 6, and 7, because there's 7 numbered pages out of the 8. Like page 7 is page 8. Each one of them has has 5 archetypes. So you could compress those. If you took out the artwork and compressed those 5 archetypes into single columns, it would be 2 pages and 1 extra.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sample now, and these archetypes would fit onto an index card. They're basically the actual stats themselves are the size of the ones in the Savage Worlds book, and it's not even the case where each one has their own page, background, or something like that with artwork or something like that. They're not as impressive as the ones that like the Pinnacle put out. And I get why they've done this. It seems to be that they didn't want to give you any background. They wanted you to make it up because they haven't come with hindrances either.
No, you still have to actually take this. This is just like the basics. Here's where you put your points. I understand that because it's supposed to be an archetype for SWADE, that they show you where the points went in red so that you can explain. So, maybe when you're showing your game master or whatever, these are where the points come from. So even all the red text is sort of like non-useful text other than for explaining the character. But yeah, it's 2 pages of 20 archetypes that are the size of a business card. A bunch of the layout's fantastic, but it's 4 pages of how to use it and then 4 pages of mostly art and very little to it.
You know what kind of annoys me as well is that where it's got this thing on here where it's got red text but next to every single attribute and skill and everything like this. So it shows you where everything's been spent. So
Yeah,
I tend to use pre-made characters whenever I'm playing a one-shot. And when I play a one-shot, I tend to invite newbies along. Now, everyone who uses this is going to assume, let's look at the ace, for example, right? Attributes, agility D8. And next to that, it's got written in red +2. They're going to assume they get a +2 to everything. Oh, he has got the edge of ace, so he actually would. But then it's got smarts D6 +1. Spirit D6 +1. They're going to assume they get a plus in all of these, and I'll have to tell everyone, right, ignore the red text. But it's just kind of an annoyance that's even there. I do get it, but you're just going to have to rewrite all of these out without all of that erroneous crap in the way.
Yeah, you still don't have a... This would have been useful had they given me 20 character sheets and scratched all these in and just said, print this off and add your hindrances, and away you go. That would have been useful. But this still requires me to copy all of this information from these little bits, put it on a character sheet, and then print that off, and then still add my hindrances. Just give me a second, dudes. I got to go back to the bathroom. Yikes.
So Gary's gone to the bathroom. I'll put a jingle in here. The Wild Die podcast. How did your dump go? What is happening to you? You actually look like thin now.
You have just witnessed the attacks that I always talk about. I literally just crapped my pants. I tried to make it to the bathroom. I tried to hold out as long as I could, and on the way there, it was just poop, 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 poop. And the poor national student's bathroom that I just went in, he's going to be so shocked when he gets up this morning and goes to use his facilities. Usually it smells like this really nice cologne that he wears. He wears like a cologne all the time. So the basement from his room to the bathroom always smells cologne-ish, like he's getting ready to go meet the ladies. And it does not smell like cologne right now. He's going to open that door and it's going to be like a blue elemental punched him right in the face.
All right, cool. So, these character sheets, well, they're not even that, but these $10 character archetypes. To conclude, are they worth buying?
Oh, they're not even... I don't know. Like I said, I like the guys, man, and I have a hard time. I literally didn't sleep last night because this is the first product I've ever bought from drive-thru after purchasing it that I felt angry about. If that sort of leaves, gives you the idea of what it is. You can just look up the archetypes, just build your own characters.
Yeah.
$10 you can I literally thought it was a mistake after I purchased it and looked at what it was. I was expecting 20 character sheets or something along those lines. That would have been useful, pluck and play, drop your race on because these don't even have the races. They didn't put them in because, depending on what setting that you're playing, you would determine what race you're going to be. So I understand why they didn't want to do that.
I don't get the point in this.
Can you name a couple archetypes? Can you name a couple of them to give people an idea of, what you get in there?
There's cleric, ace, gunslinger.
Those kinds of deals. Dual wielder, fighter. What else they got in here? In the sniper, sorcerer, thief. Those kinds of things, right? Mad scientists is in here. So
donkey puncher.
Porn meister. No, those are not parts of this. The layout is beautiful. Carl nailed it. He knocked it out of the park. The art is fantastic. But it's, like I said, it's 2 pages at best of archetypes. The size of, it's 5 business cards per side of space that it takes up. And the rest of the book is either the cover, the table of contents, the credits, how to use the book, and then art.
And let me say this as well. Gary is usually a person that whatever he buys, whatever RPG product he buys, he'll find something he can get out of it, some good. Even if it's something he mostly hates, he'll go, hey, but this part was cool, and I'm definitely going to use that in this game.
Hence the shocked look on my face. Like, you're 29 pages and 5 adventures. That sounds like a $9.99 product. And this should have been pay what you want. So I don't know if there was some error, but then when I read the comments, I'm like, okay, maybe maybe there was some kind of mistake, but Jeffrey F comes in flying with his I don't know, his praises. And
I saw a couple of comments on Facebook too that were not that favourable, where they were like $10 for characters, and it was some people were not happy about this. I think all they need to do to get back in people's good books is just put it as pay what you want, man. You get a couple of bucks back. I don't think they'll make back what they spent on the rad artwork here, but the fact of the matter is that people aren't going to pay $10 for this, because a couple of people might, but you ain't going to get what you want for it. And I think, it's just a shame, really. It's just a shame, because
what I think happened here is, like Harrison just mentioned, they obviously spent good money on a layout guy, on artwork, and producing something like that costs money. The thing is, maybe they miscalculated the market for archetypes and put more money into this product than they should have had in the first place. So that's the thing. The look of it, the production value, production quality, I would say, is definitely worth that much money, I think. But the value of it, what's inside, it $10 just seems a bit much.
I think if you're gonna, it's like Eric has sometimes said to me on occasion, if you're gonna do like a small product, for a small-ish market, you've got to keep your budget small too, and you've got to do that however you can. That if that means that your product doesn't end up looking quite as nice as you wanted it to, then so be it. That's just the way it's got to be. And then you can keep the price set low, and then your customers are happy.
Yeah, it's a good point. This is literally like a $20 production value. The look of it, do you know what I mean? It's a $20 production value material for a pay what you want 20 archetype kind of what's the word, like addition to your gaming stuff is what it boils down to. It's beautifully laid out. It's a wonderful looking product.
I mean, it's even like even when like Pinnacle released the archetypes for their games, right, and they're fully fledged, fully made, beautiful characters, each one on a big A4 sheet of paper, or whatever stupid ass, dumb ass measurement you Americans and Canadians use for paper. Be on like with a beautiful artwork, all of that. Even when they charge $3 for that after you've already bought the game, you feel like they're giving you a kick in the nuts. Do you know what I mean? So that to me. So if that gives you some indication of what people are willing to pay for characters, Anyway, let's move on, because I think we've bitched about this enough. So what are we talking next? Parsec, Last Parsec, Irongate, Donkey Punch 5. What are we talking about?
Yeah, the plug with Irongate and also Gary with Perspective in Gaming.
Irongate.
Yeah, we played last weekend. Continued. Gary and I with brand new characters. I created a Saren. I think that's how it's pronounced. The race where they're kind of a little bit mind reader, precog type of race. Her name is Amber, and she's kind of a smuggler, contraband runner for Kurza's Pride, while a subdivision of it. And so I made her a little bit like a face character, but with taunt. That's kind of her thing, to taunt people and demean them. And it was my first character made with the new rules with Adventure Edition, and it was pretty easy. It was fun. I used the savageus.us website. This is made by Jeffrey Gordon. It's a character builder, character creator that you can use. It's free right now. It's still in beta phase, or maybe alpha. I'm not sure which one, but it's not 100% done, but a very nice tool. I'll put a link to that in the show notes so you guys can check it out. It really helped character creation there, and of course the sci-fi companion is supported in there, and you can make races and all that. So that was fun. And Gary made probably one of the lamest character in history. Wow. I don't understand why anybody would want to play like a heap of slime. It reminded me like in the old video game, Super NES game, Dragon Warrior, when you encountered those slimes. It reminds me of that. That was Gary Gloop. So Gary had to make that whole race from scratch. How did that work out for you, Gary?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to add my boring after you said what your character was, but mine was custom built from scratch. I am a psionic, gelatinous, sort of like shapeless gummy bear. Recently, if you haven't seen it, Seth MacFarlane, Family Guy, he's come out with a show called Orville that is his space take on Star Trek's, I guess it would be Star Trek. It's more Star Trek-y than it is Star Wars-y, so Star Trek. And on the ship is Norm Macdonald plays this character called Yaphet, I think is his name, and he is just a gelatinous glob of character. And so I wanted to make the premise of playing that. And so when I did character creation, I made a psionicist glob of goop. Can sort of just roll around. He's got a hard sort of, not really a hard outer shell, but a gummy bear sort of thick outer shell. And he's got some psionics, and I used the racial abilities to make my first. This is actually the first race that I've ever created from scratch. Picked my points, did my thing, and it worked out really well. It turned out really easy.
How does that work? How do you make a new race like that?
Inside the book, you go to the I think it's page 18, something like that, is where it says right near the beginning, and you've got positive racial abilities and negative racial abilities. So when you start making your character,
whoa, negative racial abilities.
Yes.
Slow down, mister. It's 2019.
Like being English.
Oh, you got me there.
So races and cultures, you begin with 2 points of positive racial abilities. And then inside the book, you can add any abilities that you want. You get the abilities have values. So depending on how extreme you want them to be, there's a value added to them. So anytime you add a positive racial ability, you're increasing your score. And then when you add a negative and you take, so they're kind of like hindrances, but just, built in kind of a deal, you subtract those points. And when you're all said and done, you have to end up with 2 points. And that's it. So, super easy to add stuff.
Which ones did you pick for your character? Do you remember?
Oh, let's see. I took Doesn't Breathe. So this one means that individuals aren't affected by inhaled toxins, can't drown, and don't suffocate in a vacuum. I believe...
That's value of 2, right? So
yep. That has a value of 2. I took, I'm not sure what the other ones. Oh, no vital organs. So I don't have, I can't be, there's no called shots against me. That has a value of 1. And let's see. I don't think I took really anything else other than that. Oh, I took Wall Walker because he's kind of gelatinous. I figured he could just, climb up stuff. And so that's a value of 1. So it gave me 4 extra points. And then for the negative ones, he has dependency. He needs to be near water at least once every 24 hours. And I gave him, so that's a dependency is -2. And I believe I gave him environmental weaknesses. Like he's immune to cold-based attacks. Essentially they would freeze him solid because he's a pile of gelatinous kind of goop. And I think that was it. And then the rest. So
you only had +1 then. You should have been at +2. You need a +1 positive ability now.
Well, I'm not sure how the maths worked out on it because I'm not looking at the character sheet, but I know I balanced it out so that he ended up with +2. So there's probably something that I'm forgetting.
All right. Yeah, I remember during that session we were at a bar and you asked for a tub of water to sit in. It was basically the piss bucket.
I think I got the the mop bucket was handed over to me.
So what exactly was wrong with Gary's character? Why didn't you like him, Eric?
Eric's just a mean jerk.
Well, that's true, but I mean, what's wrong with what's wrong with playing a big jelly guy? I mean, yeah, in Dragon Quest, if you played one of those slimes, well, it's called Dragon Warrior in America, but in Dragon Quest, if you played one of those slimes, yeah, fine, it wouldn't be that great. But if you gave it a personality, I think it sounds like a great character.
No, I don't know. It's a fun character, no doubt. It's just that when I play a game, I want to play a character that, you know, can inspire people, like Han Solo type of character. I don't want to play, you know, a gelatinous gummy bear that wall walks.
I tell you what, the only thing that annoys me about Gary's slime character is that he picked it before I did.
Hey, I think you should tell everybody what your awesome idea for a character was that we had a good chuckle about in our chat.
So all of the characters have to be from a prison, right? So my character is a vending machine with robot that got put in prison because he used to be in an old folks home, and then one day he got fed up of his job and started vending razor blades to them. And now he's trying to escape the prison, and he can vend hot coffee, vend cans of soda pop extremely fast at people. Bolt spell, I'm thinking. Yeah, and he's just this angry robot that's fed up of serving people. You're never going to put me down, humans.
In the future, like in Star Trek, they have the I can't remember what you call them. The replicators. Yeah. Is that you're basically just a replicator?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So he can kind of vend anything within reason. I'm thinking PowerPoints will be kind of like the goop that you put in it to replicate stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
Turns out that's the name of Gary's character, Goop. Or is it Gloop?
Well, no, I have a real name, but people just call me Goop.
You know what would be really cool?
Just can't
is if the backstory might be that the goop that's used in the replicator to replicate stuff is the jelly people from your planet.
Oh, and I don't know about it. I'm clueless to it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on that planet. You need to come up with like maybe in an interlude or something, talk about your planet, how everybody interacts and, you know, mates and eats and how that civilization evolved.
That'd be really good if...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
For a guy that thinks my character's a jerk. You think my character's a turd, and now all of a sudden you're super interested in him.
I didn't say he was a jerk. I just said, you know.
No,
you know what I mean.
Eric only ever wants to play a human with a long sword fighting a goblin, okay? And he only wants to play lawful good. Okay, Gary?
Hey, I'm the one who played a bench in a game. Okay?
That's a very good point. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's funny. No, I'm glad I went through and made my first custom race of Savage Worlds. It was actually relatively simple. You make it just like a regular character. You're just sort of choosing racial abilities and just doing the math on that, and then the rest of it you just pick all the hindrances and edges that apply to your character and your skill set, and away you go. So yeah, I'm a psionic gummy bear. It's friggin' awesome, dude. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, pretty cool. Next week. But yeah, besides that, nothing really of interest happened for during that game that we can talk about that concerns Adventure Edition. So we're gonna move on to the last part with Gary. Gary's got a little story, a little anecdote, probably with a half-hour tangent at the beginning. But yeah, the mic is yours, Gary.
A 30-minute tangent. I gotta find where I wrote that because there it is. Here we go. So this is my in memory of Stan is what I labeled this. So the point of this is to give some background on a couple of topics I think are kind of interesting to touch on when it comes to gaming. using characters or NPCs in-game to influence stories, motivate players, and create tough choices. The trouble that can arise, or I should say, and the trouble that can arise when you kill those players off, those NPCs. So this month I was wrapping up my 6-month-long 50 Fathoms campaign. We got 2 sessions left. And I've loved this setting since I first read about it. The world's small. It's uncomplicated. It's consisting of about maybe 30 areas of interest ranging from small villages to major cities, each of which spawns a multitude of quests for treasure hunting, mystery solving, search and rescue, that kind of stuff. So that is the one thing that drew me to it is the tightness of the world. It's not vast and expansive, and you don't have to learn like an inordinate amount of information that you have to suck in as a GM to make sort of the story flow. So the main story is this is a world in ruins, and it's looking for heroes to come and rescue it. It's a timeless classic. There's a smattering of different races, from Atani to the Grail, Kraken. These are like bird races, walrus races, squid races, and there's others. There's a race of crabmen that you can play from. So it's versatile. It's got a lot of diversity in characters. But you guys probably heard me drone on more than enough about how much I love this setting. This is the tale of Stan. So my players were not given the option to play these races. I asked them to play themselves to create characters based on themselves with similar attributes, skill sets, and knowledge. So it's not easy for players to dissect themselves and put themselves onto paper. And that was a challenge sort of right out of the gate. What do you know? What do you think your abilities are? It's hard for maybe some people that are overweight to realize that they're, you got to put down brawny, but not the good brawny kind of a thing. So, it can be the thing. Everybody thinks they're smarter than they are, that kind of stuff, right? So trying to get people to put down statistics about themselves or dissect themselves was not easy. This is a group that came from D&D, longtime Pathfinders, but with little work and time. And the flexibility of Savage Worlds, it was actually kind of easy to do. Once you sit down with somebody and dissect them and help them sort of dissect themselves, it wasn't really actually that rough. Have you guys ever done anything like that? You ever played yourself in game?
No, I've had the players encounter themselves in a game, and I played all of them, but it was just an opportunity for me to mock them. But I played myself, because I did that, I had to play myself as a DM, and I just played like a caricature, but I've never had to stat myself. I think that'd be very difficult to do.
Yeah. We did in Nominate back in the day as teenagers. So we played demons, but we look like ourselves. So we had a tour bus, and we'd pick up hitchhikers and torture them, that type of thing. It was kind of a cathartic experience there, but that's the only time. It was fun.
It's definitely an interesting thing to sit down and do with a group of people, especially when you have to make them inside of Savage Worlds realize that there is things like edges and hindrances. Unlike D&D, you have classes. In D&D, you're the perfect soldier. You don't have these glitches that you have to live with or play with throughout the game, but inside of Savage Worlds, obviously you do. So my one character, Brittany, actually has a son whose name is Archer, and he's been her driving factor throughout the premise of the entire story. She is in another world trying to get back to her son. And, the problems that brings up and the motivations that gives her and the drives that she has because of that are unique to her. It's not something that you can experience when you sit down with a bunch of weenuses, essentially, right? So what drives...
kind of hindrance represents that for her character? Do you remember? Maybe?
Probably something along those lines. But yeah, she's taken, she's got something along that. I was trying to think of what the other guys would have taken as well. Like William, the one kid that I play with, he's fairly young. He shows up with his dad. I don't think he took young as one of his hindrances and stuff like that. But even their skills and abilities and the things that they know are based off them as people. So when we rolled into the game, they could only do things that they were aware of. So if you were an electrician, you would know all about electricity. If you're a carpenter, you'd know how to build things and stuff like that. That was sort of the premise that we went with. Once they died, however, they could pick a race inside the game and come back as that. They could be the Grail or the Kraken or whatever. So that was interesting, to say the least. That was sort of an eye-opening little exercise in role-playing sort of outside the box. With that, my players were ready, single, and ready to mingle. They're on a pirate dating cruise ship set in the year 2018. They boarded the ship for dinner and dancing, and of course a little bit of mingling, and the ship set sail for a romantic loop around the bay when the storm came out of nowhere. So they were tossed around. They watched people get skewered and flung overboard. Some ended up dead on the ship with their heads smashed open or their necks snapped like twigs. They got pounded around into masts, sails, and walls. I tried to make it as dramatic an entrance into the world of Charybdis as possible. I feel like the world of Charybdis is kind of cartoonish, and it's more adventurous than anything, but I wanted to set that tone of being deadly right out of the gate. So my descriptions into the world were a lot of death and destruction, people getting run through, hit with tables, things flying at them. And then basically they faded into darkness, listening to the sounds of earth, the faint voice of somebody, some small child calling them, which is how anybody gets inside of the world of 50 Fathoms. So that was another sort of thing that I was trying to trigger right out of the gate, was setting the tone. When you guys, tips and tricks is sort of what I'm getting at. How do you guys go about doing it? Same thing, just descriptive?
Yeah, I mean, what if they're going into like a new world, like a different world?
Yeah, how do you set the tones for your game? Set the tone, describe the background, that kind of stuff.
If I'm setting tone, it tends to be either I'm telling them beforehand, or it has to be something happening to them. The best way is to condition them in some way, like you did. You got them into it by actually showing them, not telling them. Do you know what I mean? And that, I think you did a really good job there by the sounds of it, because you made something happen to them, and that way they're going to realize, oh yeah, this is actually what the world is like. And I think you did a fantastic job, because tone is all about showing them something. Like I've been over the holidays playing a lot of Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and it's quite dark, but it's also, it has other elements to it with regards to the town and things like this. And I showed them a lot of the horrific elements by just making them jump in at the deep end. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I would do it. I'm not going to get.
When we were at Con on the Cob, one of the big things that happened there was Lamoureux's Wise Guys.
Yeah,
he spent a lot of time making the minis, setting the maps, building the theater, so to speak.
Yeah,
and I really feel that is a major way to set the tone in the game too. And Eric's Wise Guys was just amazing, like for stuff like that. You saw it too, Harrison, which was pretty sweet.
Amazing.
How do you guys? What do you think, Lamoureux? How do you think your players felt when they saw that? There was a bunch of oohs and ahs coming on.
Yeah, well, I think as a GM, you have to work with your strengths and kind of glean over your weaknesses. And for me, while it's my descriptions, probably my lack of ability with the English language at sometimes. So you have to compensate with other things. And one of the things I found was being more visual. Like Harrison said, show them, don't tell. But so it can be done with description if you're good at describing things, and you have the vocabulary and all that stuff that works. There's many ways to accomplish that.
And even if you don't have the chance to do props, you can always pre-write certain descriptions if you think that if you're not that good at describing stuff on the fly. That's what I see a lot of GMs do. Like if you know they're going to go to a certain place, just simply write down the description of that place. It's not necessarily like a railroading tactic, but that's also another good way to immerse players into a certain scene. So for example, if I was playing Eric's what was it called, the Hills Have Knives scenario, I might just call that scene to mind and describe it really in depth, or describe it in a clever way to make people get into that scene, because I'm not going to spend 6 months building scenarios, building that terrain. There's no way I'm going to do that. So yeah, that's what I might do.
I was thinking about something too. Last year, Matt Stark did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we all got our character sheets inside of pizza boxes.
Yeah.
I think there might have been a truck involved or something like that, Eric. I don't know if you played in that game or not, but even something as small as that, just putting that pizza box out. If you're familiar with the setting, like everybody knows the turtles love their pizza, so just having that there, instilled that initial idea, and it gets the gears going. So
absolutely.
My players awoke in the hull of a listing ship resting on the beach in the first plot point campaign called the Red Pool. The gigantic shark had already attacked and torn a hole in the boat, through which the sunlight was pouring in. And again, to instill the idea that this is going to be a deadly environment, it's a one-shot kind of, you're not going to be brought back from the dead kind of a thing. I had dead bodies floating in the water inside they had to sort of push them out of the way. Voices could be heard outside. Other survivors were crying or barking orders. My players made their way out to the beach, getting their bearings, checked their phones, and finding subtle information or clues as to their whereabouts. They quickly realized that they knew nothing about their location. They had no cell phone reception, and the foliage didn't resemble anything that they were accustomed to, as it all looked tropical. So the premise of this section too is to sort of set up my players. I want that. This is the hook, is really what it boils down to. Setting them or forcing my players down the beach, looking for the first encounter where they find the other ship, and sort of setting everything in motion. I guess there really isn't that much to talk about here, because everybody's got their own ways to sort of hook players into sort of setting things in motion and whatnot. The leader of the survivors sent the party down to the shore to search for food. I let the players scavenge the retrofitted pirate boat for anything that they could find on a ship in 2018, i.e. like fire axe, kitchen knife, rope, any of that kind of stuff. They were on an old pirate ship that was retrofitted into 2018. So, spoiler alert, in the Red Pool, the players are attacked by the equivalent of Earth's Velociraptor. And we're going to shuffle ahead as they go down the beach. Enter Stan. So as the players find another boat beached ahead on the shore, and they go to check it out, there's a rustle from the jungle edge. And out flies this little 10-year-old boy. Consider him to be like Mowgli. He screams as he's running towards the players, and he's being chased by essentially a velociraptor. They're called yellowbacks inside of 50 Fathoms. And I picked a character at random. And Stan runs towards him and grabs onto his leg and sort of hides behind it for protection. So the velociraptor was killed. And then, of course, this is the beautiful part about having characters like this come into game. Not only is he was a pawn for me to manipulate them, he was also a fountain of information. They can start drilling Stan for questions. Do you know where we are? How did we get here? So he not only becomes a device for me to drive the story, but he also becomes answers for them rather than me just telling them or having them look around. They can just ask Stan. So his story was he'd been on the island for 6 months. He was 10, and he was born in 2001. Now, my players came over from 2018. So right away, I'm instilling the sense in them that time doesn't quite work here like it does in other, in their own world. Stan should have technically been 17, but he was actually only 10, and he's only been here for 6 months. So he had a little sob story that I drilled into him. His parents were here. Same deal. They were attacked by the shark. His boat crashed on the shore, and little Stan was looking for somebody to help him survive, to kill the loneliness and whatnot. And I immediately attached him to one of my players, and it was fantastic. It turned out super well. So, have you guys done this before? I mean, here's the thing too. This is not something that you can do inside of a plot point camp, or not a plot point, but inside of a one shot. So there has to be some kind of build up with these sort of setups. Stan, it's time.
I agree. I mean, we played DCC adventure once where they had this dude turn up, and one of the central conceits of the adventure was that there's this coffin with a bloke inside it that can't get out, and they have to drag him around these mountains. And the whole point of it is that you need to like drag him around these mountains. One of the whole things about the adventure is that you have to like the dude. Not like him, but you have to have some bond with the dude in the coffin. And the point, half part of the point is that you can't really build up the bond with him in a one shot. And I played it with you guys, and I played that adventure kind of differently when we played it at the Con and the Cob. But when I played it with my group, I was like, well, we can play this over 4 sessions. So I kind of played it as written as opposed to the version that we played at Con and the Cob. And yeah, when you play it like that, you really have to. Yeah, you can't do that kind of player attachment with an NPC in a one shot. It just doesn't happen quite as well. I find in a one shot, it's like the players, they have to kind of role play that attachment as opposed to actually having it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I was not so much shocked, but it just makes me think how versatile a single NPC can be. Not only was this boy able to pull at the heartstrings of the player characters, I was able to use him as sort of a fountain of information, and yeah, it was actually pretty sweet. So Stan became a regular. He was saved, and slowly throughout the last 6 months, Stan has been what's the word I'm looking for? Attaching himself more and more to my character, or one of my players, Michael.
So to all the other players, are they fans of Stan? Are they Stan fans now?
Every one of them.
Oh, sweet.
Every one of them loves. Yeah, Stan is the man because he was super helpful in the beginning. He told them about the Red Men. He told them about their rituals, what to expect from them, where they could find them, the animals around the Torth Caw, and he also showed them how to find food and stuff like that. I was giving them bonuses to find food and stuff just from having Stan around as that initial, as that initial sort of fountain of information. Where did we go from here? So let's flash forward, sort of wrap this up, because this is, last week or the week before was the demise of Stan. For the last 6 months, I have been trying to kill Stan. Once I knew that he was hooked, and they were, sort of going out of their way to sort of save Stan from doing things or getting in the way. There was this one time when I tried to attack them with like a giant kraken and whatnot, or not a kraken, a giant octopus. And, immediately Stan's in the basement. He's no longer standing on the deck. And then I was like, okay, this is where this is where my fun can come in, because now I can start applying hard choices. I can make my characters do the things that not do the things I want them to do, but basically instill in them the idea that, this is in some sense maybe a little more than a role-playing game. This is, there's a touch of realism here. Once Stan sort of becomes a real person, a part of the story and whatnot,
and also a part of the group as well.
He is, yeah. He fits in. He's always there. He's always peeking out from behind Michael's leg. He's always got something to say about something. So and Michael became very protective of him. So yeah, Stan is now dead. I managed to actually kill Stan, and this is sort of what spawned all of this. So on a barge in La Isla de Dios, which is the Isle of God, the players are there to retrieve the heart of an archmage from the barge of Torquemada. This guy's a crazy religious zealot, hell-bent on removing every mage from the world. Hanging from the mast is the corpse of the Archmage, and the players failed miserably at the first attempt to retrieve the heart. The captain is captured and branded, and the crew is repelled back to their ship. So Torquemada will strike up a deal. He will release the captain, which is Brittany, if she gives him the mage that casts the spellstorm, which is Michael. Michael is essentially the father of Stan. And she refuses because she's trying to protect Michael. So he counter-offers with an offer of a small child to sacrifice. So the blood of an innocent to appease the gods is sort of what he was getting at. And the captain writes this letter to the crew that simply says, "Bring me Stan." And it's written to one of her henchmen, a large grail named Horak, and delivered via rowboat to Torquemada's men. So they're on this barge. The ship, their boat, cannot approach because the bay is shallow. But this barge, being a flat-bottomed boat, can go in there no problem. So that's where Torquemada is. So they can't get within cannon range. They can only go back and forth via rowboat. Write the letter. The henchmen row out to their boat, to Brittany's boat, hands the letter over to Horak, and Horak reads it, and he's like, he's just a follower, so he's like, "Bring me Stan." And this is where the dilemma comes in. It was something happened at this point of the game that made me take a step back and look at what was happening, and sort of be like, okay, so at which point is it my fault or the player's fault that Stan died? Because it was brought up inside the game. So a few things happen. There's confusion at the table. There's players are interjecting because we don't go round and round like ICRPG, Eric Lamoureux.
Look, we've spoken too much about this. Carry on with the story.
I was trying to do something with Horak, and Brittany is playing Horak. He's trying to get Stan. While this is going on, I have other players that are making other plans, and William, the young player at my table, he was trying to pretend that he was Stan, and he was trying to get onto the boat. And so they interjected that. There was a touch of confusion there. So anyways, I paused for a few moments. We do a little stuff, and long story short, little Stan gets on the boat, and Michael goes with him. So I'm not stopping anything as a dungeon master. I'm just presenting problems.
Yeah.
They want Stan. This is what they're asking for. And essentially, I feel like the players did nothing to stop what happened. They put Stan on the boat. They row him back out. He stood in front of Torquemada, who has this chair on this barge, this throne-like chair. And I slowly explained over and over again that I'm reaching down for this lever as this guy says things to Stan. He's basically doing his, speaking his Latin speech as and then he pulls this lever, and this chair has a flamethrower built into it. So in front of Michael and Brittany, I literally torched Stan. I set him ablaze, and they did nothing. And then the story changed. And not even the story, but it's the word I'm looking for,
direction.
The flavor. Yeah, it was no longer, it's not that it wasn't fun, but it became very confrontational. It was now me versus the players.
So did they feel like you'd taken something away from them? Like, Stan is our thing.
They felt like I didn't give them a choice.
Oh, okay.
Is what it boiled down to, which was the weirdest thing, because I gave them that they didn't have to put Stan on the boat. They could have attacked the guys in the rowboat.
Well, and it seems to me like also one of them tried to pretend to be Stan as well, and you gave him the choice to do that. So
there was a lot of that going back and forth. This is a bit of a long-winded story, but it sets the premise for some cool things to talk about, because Michael had mentioned that he felt that I railroaded Stan's death. And I'm kind of giving you my side of the story when it comes to this, but have you guys ever been in this situation before where it almost seemed like everybody turned on me as the DM, and they were like, why don't you die instead of Stan, mister?
You know what? I'm lucky. I never had this situation before where I've been accused of this. I'm sure people have probably thought it, but I don't think they've said it out loud, or it's actually been sort of explicitly said. So I'm lucky. But yeah, that's really funny, man. So did they start trying to kill your guys at any cost at this point?
No, it ended up they sacrificed Stan. They got in exchange for the Archmage, they got her down. They took her back to the boat, and then they just sailed off, and that was sort of the end of it.
Okay.
Michael was given multiple chances to save Stan. He could have fought the crew. He could have attacked the boatsmen on the way to the barge, sacrificed himself to save Stan by admitting to Torquemada that he was the mage that cast the storm spell and tried to strike a deal with them.
Oh, they could have done anything.
So,
I mean, it seems to me like what it is because he was kind of a main character, it seems to me like they thought it was a given that he wasn't going to die. And when he did, they were just like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what striked up this entire thought process. I sort of needed to give you guys the buildup of who Stan was, how he fits into the story, his importance to them. But when it came right down to it, they literally just let Stan go and then blamed me, I felt, for railroading the situation, when I feel as a dungeon master, your only sort of purpose is to present meaningful role-playing experiences. As a DM, it's your job to create problems for the players and let them figure out how to get out of it. But I feel like as I presented the problems to them, they just let it happen and then blamed me for it without them trying to get out of it. So I found it quite fascinating.
I think that sometimes some players have a difficulty balancing, there's that thing of when you're playing in a one shot that you've got to try and be kind and let the DM, and you've said this before, present their story. And sometimes you've just got to shut up, let the DM do their thing, and then it's your turn to jump in and do your actions. Do you know what I mean? And maybe some people have struggled finding a balance of, when can I jump in? Do you know what I mean? And maybe when you said the flamethrower is going off now, I wonder if they were thinking in their heads, "Oh, I want to jump in the way, but Gary's talking." Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's why.
That's kind of what I was. That's what I was. The same thing Harrison's talking about, because I've had a little bit of time to think about this, and I mean, obviously, I wasn't there, so. And like you said, that's your side of the story. We don't know the other side of the story, how they felt it. But I know as a player, there are times where it's hard for me to know when my cue is for, okay, now this is my turn. Because you got the GM presents the situation, and then usually I'll say, what do you guys do? And then that means that now is your turn. You can do something. So I don't know exactly how you narrated this sequence, but maybe they were waiting for you to say, what do you guys do? But maybe you took pause at some point, but they weren't sure, and knowing you and your reputation for railroads, maybe they thought this was a sequence that was narrated to them, and they just had to wait till you were done.
That's why it's hard.
Do you think?
I think that's why it's hard to know whose side to be on here, because I that's exactly what I agree with Eric. I don't know. We'd have to get one of them on here and interview him. But yeah, what do you reckon, Gary?
This is why I wanted to bring it up, because there is always two sides to every story, and you make a good point. I have said that in the past. Sometimes you just have to let things happen for the sake of the story, and that whole premise is based on a trust that you have to have with the DM. As a player and the dungeon master, they need to have a certain amount of storytelling trust between one another, where you know that there's always going to be an option. So the only thing I can say in my defense is, when I was reaching for the handle, it was a slow, drawn-out process. I explained the Latin speech that he was giving, Dominus hoc do, and he's doing his deal and he's waving his hands around, and then he slowly reaches down and I was trying to put in these pauses there so that they could react, but they just never did.
Oh, and really?
So it wasn't like I immediately reached down for it and I immediately torched him. That sequence probably took a solid minute, which can be a long time in gameplay. But like you said, were they trusting me to not torch Stan? Yeah,
that's on them then. I mean, and it also depends on the delivery as well, because sometimes you get those moments where because if I was describing something, you know, if I was sitting down and doing it, then maybe people would think, okay, this is a bit where he's just describing something. But if I was maybe standing up and I go, he reaches slowly, and I was looking at all the players in the eyes as if to say, what are you going to do now? And then he's bringing his arm up, and I'm pointing at them. One of them might jump in and go, I punch that fucker in the face, you know, because they know that this is like a tense moment. But yeah, it's so weird because you'd have no idea what was going on in their heads at the moment. But given the build-up, like, I'm surprised that none of them acted. Because if I was them, you know, politeness or no politeness, I would have interrupted if it was somebody I loved that much, you know, an NPC that was that dear to me. I don't care. Screw your narration. I'm uninterrupted.
So I'm gonna say something, and maybe you'll want to punch me, but while you were doing this, did you stop and go around the table and ask them what they were doing?
I would say no, I didn't.
Do you think you should have?
This is why I'm bringing it up. This is why I'm asking you or telling you the story. Perhaps I should have, but I also feel like I gave enough dramatic pause between sort of segments that they could have interjected.
It would have taken away from tension as well, though. If you have that moment, right, you go, he says, oh, Namadomanu, and he's starting to reach to the thing, and then you go, right, what are you doing? And then one of them goes, well, I shoot him, obviously, right? And then it's just like, okay, cool. What you want to do is have the thing play out, and then for people to dramatically interrupt if they feel the need. That's what Gary was after, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is it something that is it something that you do frequently, or it was kind of out of character for you to narrate a scene like that? Well, what I mean by that is that is it a situation where you pause and let them take action, a regular occurrence in your sessions, or it was just at this moment? Because if it was just this time that you narrated that way, they probably didn't know where you were going with this. Like you said, the trust between the GM and the players, you get to know how a GM handles certain situation, and you know when it's your cue, your time to go, and you know what I mean?
Good point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is a lot of what I do in the last couple of years, even my D&D Adventures League stuff was basically one-shot sessions. Even though it was campaignish over the long run, each session was sort of a one-shot, whereas this is similar to that because I'm just rolling through plot point campaigns, but it's been a 6-month-long story. With the other stuff that I do, even though it's a long story because they go by seasons, you're running 12 adventures or something like that, but each one can be its own particular adventure. You go out, you adventure, you come back to home base. The next time we start, the group will change. The dynamic changes, the people who show up change, and you go out and you do an adventure and you come back to your home base. That's how Adventure League's first couple of seasons.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is that, do you usually just ask them what do you do, or you always narrate that way by, you know, taking pauses and letting them interject into your narrative?
Yeah, so that's what I was getting, is that when you asked me that question, I realized that maybe I don't, because I'm not playing these long, drawn-out, single-story campaigns. I'm always doing the short one-shots, even though they do assimilate to a bigger story. So maybe that's my play style, right? Where I'm not doing the dramatic, long pauses, and there isn't these 6 months, NPCs tagging along.
So I think we've diagnosed the problem then.
Thanks, pal. You're saying it was me, right?
No, I don't think it was you. I just think it was that you used something that was out of the blue. And I think that it took them by surprise, and as a result, they couldn't have possibly predicted that was a scene where they could just jump in. And I just think it was a misunderstanding by both people. That was all. I don't think it was anyone's fault, but I could see why they would think it, and I can see why you would think you were right as well. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. This is why I love role-playing games, man. It's dynamics like this. It's situations like this. It's people being in and out of their elements. And this kind of stuff tests any GM that has to go through these situations. But there was no outright conflict at the table. The story carried on. It's just that the dynamic or the feel of the table changed when Stan died. And then it was like, you killed Stan. And I'm like, but I didn't kill Stan. Your inability, and I didn't say this to them, but this is what I was thinking in my head, is essentially they made a comment, or Michael made a comment, that I railroaded them into killing, or into Stan's death. And I don't feel that I did. I feel there was lots of options. So anyways, that's what prompted this whole conversation. And that's
Very
it.
Cool. It'd be nice to hear what the listeners think about that, their thoughts. Maybe they come to a different conclusion than we did, but yeah, I think Harrison said it best. Maybe it was out of the blue. They just didn't know how to react to this situation because it wasn't typical to how you usually run games, maybe.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up then.
My name's Harrison Hunt, and I do what I like. Right now, I ride a mother bike through the mall where I ain't supposed to do that. I'm from the podcast Tabletop Twats, and this is the wrap up, and it's gonna be sick. I'm right now, you can suck my dick, cause I don't give a what you think about my so suck my mother big fucking dick. Yeah! What I'm trying to say is it's the mother wrap up. Just like Mummy used to make.
I just want to do a quick plug, because I very rarely plug my other podcasts on this show, so I just wanted to give a shout out to the Tabletop Twats. It's my other podcast. Go and listen to that if you fancy, because I really enjoy making it. And we just done a very interesting episode, because a very strange French girl wrote a fan fiction about all of us, and it's completely nuts, and she's an insane person, so go and listen to that. We did a review of Lamentations of the Flame Princess as well. That's just gone up. And we've got an ongoing actual play series set in Ravenloft called Ravenlord, which is very, very enjoyable if you like things. You like things? we got things, guy. So anybody else? Anybody else got anything to say? I feel like we had a fun episode today, man. We had the Stan story. That was epic. We had other stuff. We had hate. We had anger.
I pooped my pants.
that has to be... I can't believe that was the first time that's happened in all these episodes, honestly.
It's 4:30 in the morning. It's 4 o'clock in the morning my time when we record these podcasts. It's like, how could that possibly happen? I haven't eaten anything today. I've been asleep for the last 7 or 8 hours.
Did you eat like a full 4-course meal just before you went to bed?
I don't know. I feel like maybe my wife, we have this running joke where I think she's poisoning me. And so last night when it was dinner time, for dinner last night I had spaghetti, and I had she made me separate tomato sauce with shrimp in it, like pasta sauce with shrimp in it, because I don't like onions. So she separated it, being the fantastic person that she is. But our running joke of her poisoning me is like, I just looked twice at her. Why do I have my own pot of sauce?
Well, it does all add up. I mean, there's a lot of things here. If I was with you, Gary, and romantically, I would poison you.
I appreciate that.
All right, if you want to get in contact with us, you can do. The email address is thewilddie@gmail.com. We're on Google+, which is going to die soon. We're on Facebook, YouTube, MeWe, and all of that stuff. You can find us at The Wild Die Podcast. We're on the Nerds International community at MeWe if you want to mingle with us. And we're on Twitter at The Wild Die. Of course, if you like this stuff and you want to donate to us, then please do. We're on patreon.com/The Wild Die. And it is this point I would like to thank the following people for donating to us on Patreon. And I apologise for this one because I've got a cold.
Sean Richard, Uncle J-Raz, Perry Chalmers, Alan Bray, Conrad Erasmus, Neubert, Greg Booney, Corey Dersham, Corey Judd, Murder Hobo Show, Ray Aristia, Rob Tao, Bubbles, Manuel Sams, Matt Stark, Pure Mongrel, Stephen Dragonspawn, Sofia RPG, Maps, Daryl Cottier, Frank Turfler Jr., Gil Dashard, Lewin Strad, Jens Sherwin Hine, John Peterson, Carl Kiesler, Mr. Stag, Remy Billadoe, Digital Dungeon Master, Trevor Hurst, Emmanuel Pabst. Damn, ran out of music there. Sorry, Emmanuel. Love you.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. There's a little bit of everything. We'll be back in 2 weeks again. I wish you guys a happy new year. I hope it's a good year for you. It's the year of the Wildlife Podcast this year, I think. Or maybe not.
It definitely isn't. It's never going to be our year. We'll try. We'll keep trying, but it ain't going to happen.
All right, so this is Eric saying, don't forget to go around the table.
And this is Harrison saying, don't poop your pants. Just grapple the skies instead.
Wow. This is Gary saying, keep your pants on. Keep it fun. Adios, Stan. You will be missed. Thanks, everybody. We're out.
The Wild Eye Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group or official Pinnacle licensees. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All music and artwork is used with permission of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Wild Eye Podcast.